So let's just feel the dantians. The lower dantian. It's like the water center. Water always finds the lowest place because it's liquid, it gets through all the cracks. And then the heart, you can think of that as being like the fire center. The little flame licking up from your palm. The heart is full of movement. It's like it's dancing. And then the head center. Air, so gaseous, vaporous. It's like an expanse of consciousness that refuses to cohere around things. It still has a center, but there's a sense that everything that you could possibly be conscious of is actually part of you, centered here. And associated with each of those points is a set of joints. So we have the hips associated with the lower dantian, the shoulders associated with the heart, and the jaw associated with the head point. And tension in those joints just means that the center isn't free. It's sort of locked up fearfully. Our main problem really is that the head has been infected by language. So instead of the head being a center of awareness and consciousness, it has become a center of language. So it's endlessly talking to itself just to maintain the dominance of language. So what that tends to do is it wants everything to pull up towards it, and especially the shoulders, because the shoulders and the arms rightly belong to the heart. So when we're being compassionate or concerned, then the arms are coming from here, but the head wants to claim the arms. It wants the arms to be its slaves, and that's why the main reason we get tense shoulders. Relaxing the jaw and the mind, letting it expand so that the shoulders can drop, and then the arms can really feel like they're stemming from the heart. This is the whole idea of ward off, riding horse. The problem with riding horse is that it tends to bunch the shoulders up, that we really have to struggle to let them drop. So there's various like breathing exercises. So, you can imagine, so let's just try. Just imagine as you breathe in, instead of breathing into here, you're breathing into this point. So you breathe in, and it's like you're just gathering energy into that head point. And then when you breathe out, a sense that it's just flowing down and dragging the shoulders down. So you breathe in, and then you breathe out. It's like a wave of relaxation drops down the body, but it's as though like a liquid, like a viscous liquid is just flowing from the head, down the neck, across the shoulders and down into the hands. So breathing in, and then just it just flows down. Keep the tip of the tongue and the roof of the mouth and relax the jaw. So we tend to set ourselves with determination by clenching the jaw. So the tip of the tongue and the roof of the mouth is just maintaining an anchor so that the jaw can relax. I can let go. So breathing in and then just let it flow down. Notice just how difficult it is just to maintain concentration. So I think it won't be long, won't be many more generations before we're incapable of meditating, because will be no sense of the mind being able to focus on stillness. It will be endlessly talking to itself. So we just got to not get discouraged. So just feel it and then let it flow. This is why they use movements, because it just helps keep the mind on it. So I'm breathing into this center and then I just let it flow down. And then just keeping the arms out, but lowish, so that you can feel this flow. So there are mind exercises to encourage relaxation, but they will only take you to a certain point, because it's like the mind can't see beyond a certain point. The mind can only really see what's there. And so what it sees really is the limits of its territory. So this is why we use the body, because the body can, if you like, take the mind beyond where the mind wants to go. So the best way to relax a part of the body is simply to exercise it mindfully. So now let's just try some exercises. Just pulling the shoulders up, lifting the shoulders, and then letting the shoulders drop. Lifting, breathing with it, breathing in, breathing out. And when you breathe out, really breathe out. Breathing in, the shoulders pulling up, and then breathe out. Similar, but rolling the shoulders. So shoulder rolls, lifting the shoulders up, pulling them back, and letting them drop down. And now let's try just lifting one shoulder. So one shoulder, and use a count at two. So 1, 2. So the second time you just really bring it up. 1, 2, 1, 2. And now shoulder rolling the other way. So now this way. So up the back, over the top, and down the front. And then just into prayer. Pulling in both shoulders and then pushing them out. Thinking of the shoulder blades moving towards each other, away from each other. Pulling the shoulder blades together behind you, pushing them apart. So the spine is arching back a little here, almost collapsing forwards here. But the effectiveness of these exercises doesn't depend upon how much physical effort you put into it. It depends upon the clarity of your mind as you're doing it. So your quality of mindfulness. A mind of awareness, a mind that improves the situation rather than makes things worse. And then bring the hands round to the front, holding into prayer again, and now rowing. So now the shoulders really pull away from the spine. And now I just pull my elbows back, trying to keep my shoulders relaxed. So now think of the hands moving forwards. And then mind in the elbows to pull the arms back. So nothing in the shoulders. Hands forwards, elbows back. And then back into prayer. And now up and out again. And let's just try turning the head, because the shoulders just really extend up into the neck. So if the person's got tense shoulders, they are certainly going to have a tense neck. Again, just see it, see the movement. Your mind is pulling the head round. You're not just mindlessly churning through some exercises. The mind pulls the head round, and then the mind moves back and the head follows it. All the time, trying to keep it a sense of expansion. That's the feeling of relaxation. So as the arms get tired and they start aching a little bit, just keep the mind relaxing, relaxing, relaxing. So the arms stay up almost miraculously, simply by virtue of your clear spirit. And then just turn one hand over and turn the head. And now we're getting a twist in the arms as well, and the shoulders are moving as well. So now getting real movement into the chest, into the heart. That's what the figure of eight was so good at. And this is why, after a few years of practicing the figure of eight, John got into the heart work. Everything switched from spirit to heart. And then bringing the hands in. Now, figure of eighting. Just imagine the movement is right in the heart. Yeah, so the shoulder has to come up to come down the figure of eight. But then when it comes up the figure of eight, you really want to feel the shoulder relaxing down. So just getting movement into a part of the body will help relax it. It's the only way, really. There's only so much the mind can do. This is why athletes are probably the most relaxed people on the planet. And surprisingly, especially bodybuilders, they're putting their bodies through such tension. It's difficult to understand that when they let that go, they're more relaxed than average. So a bodybuilder can just stand there and someone can just give them a name of a muscle and they can just make that muscle spring into tension and everything else remain relaxed. The mind is clear. Feel this machine. Keep it relaxing. Think of the shoulders, but also think of the head rising up out of it. The head always stays aloof. The legs are always trying to pull your dantian towards the ground, and your head is always trying to float up into the clouds. And your heart is just yearning to interact with other living creatures. wind it down until it comes to the down chin. And then just a few pulling in the down chin. Tighten and relax. Tighten and relax. Squeezing the ring muscles closed and then pushing them open. Pull, push. And then just bring it here. So this is called the Dhyana mudra. Mudra just means hand shape. Dhyana is a Sanskrit word which means meditation or concentration. So if you're right-handed, then the right hand is meant to be resting on the left. So the left is like the feminine expanding side that cradles and contains, the side that thinks it has control, the masculine side. And each time you breathe in, you can just take it to one of the centers. And every time you breathe out, just think of dropping down the arms. And just always be aware if you have like a good session, if you really feel you've connected with it and you've got some sort of internal quiet. When you become quiet inside, that's when you become conscious of energy. That's when you feel just the flow, because everything slows down and you're able to see the breathing in, the breathing out. So when you look at something, there's a sense that something flows out of you, reaches towards the thing, and then comes back. So sometimes, we touch that through the work that we do, but just be aware that the ego does not want to give up control, and so it will punish you. And so in a sense, it'll be difficult to reach that the next time. You just have to be really patient. The ego is like a spoilt child that's forever throwing tantrums, cannot bear not to have its own way. So you just got to be like a really patient parent. You realize that slapping it doesn't really help in the long run. You've just got to be patient and persistent. And it's like that with, with the tension that we hold. I told you that time I was massaging a dancer. I stretched their hips and groin. So she was lying on her back and I pushed their leg up and down. So most people can't even get their leg to vertical. But she got it slightly beyond. I thought, normally dancers can get it a bit further. And then suddenly I almost fell because she relaxed and her leg went right back and her foot hit the ground behind her head. I didn't have the stretch to actually go with it. And I said, wow, what did you do? She says, I started singing to the joint. They have techniques because the reason we're tense is because we're frightened. So you need to be just comforted, really. So you just talk to it, just say, okay, you can relax, you can let go. There's nothing to be frightened of. So these are also recommended for the shoulders. So anything where your arms are swinging, you just imagine your hands are heavy, so they're pulling the shoulders down. Remember that, if you just exercise without the mind, then it's not really going to help. You'll develop like a brute strength, but it will be pretty coarse and stupid. I'm trying to expand here. If I relax the hips, it will help the shoulders. If I relax the jaw, it will help the shoulders. Alternating the arms. It'll be more effective when you're alternating like this than when you're doing the whole body together, because I can really focus on one side. Feel this exercise almost pulling the two sides of the body away from each other. That's its value in a sense. Almost like a gap is opening up down the middle. Turning. So this is another one they use for the shoulders. So imagine the arms like ropes hanging from your side. So the centrifugal, generating centrifugal force will send your hands away from the center. And you can feel that stretching the shoulders. The shoulders relaxing away from the neck and down towards the hands. Let the head go with it. Don't look at the screen. Everything is moving. Nothing is still. You're not focusing on anything other than the inside. So you're losing the external world. So it becomes a very interior exercise. You can feel the hands flying through the air. But your mind is settling in the still center. Release the shoulder, release the arm, especially the front one. And just see if you want to release the shoulders, you have to release the jaw. There's a sense as this arm flies out, almost like this side of my face is also going with it. So the flesh on your face is being flung by the centrifugal force as well as your arms are. backwards and forwards, the way we used to do it, so more quickly than we normally do, just to get a little bit of momentum in the arms. So the arms are swinging. You can still try and stay open in the groin. You can really feel gravity pulling the sacrum. Develop that mind that can watch. It's like it's really suspicious. And then you see that as soon as it gets distracted and starts thinking to itself, ooh, everything pulls up away from the ground and towards the head. To talk to ourselves requires a lot of energy. And so the mind will try and just muster all its reserves by pulling everything up into it. We no longer then have a root, a real connection with the ground, but also we no longer have a connection with others through our arms. Is all we have is a sense of self. This is why John used to say the ego interacts on the level of bumper cars. It's just clashing all the time. It's one opinion against another. Remember, John used to have that phrase, that damning phrase for students that just have no sense of inner quiet. He used to say, they're not ready to begin. And so when you've just got enough internal quiet that you can look at things with some sort of clarity, then you're ready to begin. And until then, it's just all preparation, really. The work just needs to interest you more than you do. So the way I put it to my students is you have to be more in love with energy than you are with yourself. So it doesn't mean that the self isn't still dominant. It just means that there's a force there that will actually eventually bring you out of it and into the world of just pure consciousness. It'll still take maybe many lifetimes, but at least the work has begun. And now let's try this one. The openness in the groin. So this is really introducing a figure of eight, this sort of tightish figure of eight around the hips, and just feel that coming into the shoulders as well. And also into the head, like you're looping around each side of the jaw. So the figure of eight is just another really good device for relaxing. It's like, when you're given a device by the teacher and you try it and you think, wow, this really works. Then, of course, after a few times, you get used to it and it no longer works anymore. So we have to be constantly dropping everything we seem to know so that we can come to it afresh as though it's the first time. So beginner's mind, cultivating beginner's mind. Yeah, so you never do something long enough to get any sort of real knowledge about. So knowledge is like a hardness that encrusts around the experience that you can then communicate to other people. And of course, it's got absolutely nothing to do with the experience itself, really. It's generally all to do with self-promotion. This is why they say the internal has no words. As soon as it gets words, it's external. And then just rotating the arm. Feel the arm coming up, but I'm dropping into the opposite leg. I want to feel that separation between the body sinking down into the leg and the spirit taking the hand right up. Feel like something is like the puppet man is pulling your hand up. Exaggerate it so that the arm gets pulled out of the shoulder and the shoulder blade has to release from the spine. And then going the other way. So swimming. See it with the mind. The circle you're trying to trace is much bigger than the one you actually are. So a sense that the mind is pulling the hand, stretching the arm all the way around. And now let's just try a little bit of the heart qigong, because that opens the shoulders as well. So the feet quite close, but the legs bent. Reaching out, bringing the world into the heart. The shoulders just really have to open up. And then just relaxing. Legs still a little bit bent so that you can feel the flow through the body. Tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. Jaw relaxed, so the teeth a little bit separated. Mind gathering here. This just full of this figure of 80 movement activity. And the sense that you're being suspended from above. So the spirit is reaching up and your body is flowing down. So another thing that is great for just relaxing is a massage. A lot of the time, the tension that gathers inside our body is like a block, and we just become unaware of it. We're not just unaware of the tension, but unaware of that part of the body. So a massage, the touch of the other's hands, will just bring your awareness back to that part of the body. And then it can start to relax. And if they really start pushing into it, it will hurt, but it will only hurt because your awareness has been away from it for so long.